Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And today the goal of this simulation is to backtest the whole of January 2019 on pound US dollar and to actually outline what I do every day when I come to the chart, what I look out for, um, how I actually take my trades. The whole idea of my trading is based around support and resistances. I look to trade the most recent market structure on 4 hour with entries on 15 or 30. So basically I mark out my charts based on the 4 hour time frame, and the minimum time frame for my entry or exit is the 15 minutes time frame. Most of my trades come on the 30, I think. So we're going to go through that and we'll see what the whole of January 2019 looks like. As currently today's date is the 5th of January 2022. And I'm planning to start trading from basically next Monday. So it's kind of getting myself prepared for January this year. I could have done January 2020, but I'd done that already. So this one I had not done before. So let's get the ball rolling. So basically would be risking maximum of 1% throughout this January. I will see how it goes. When I come to the chart and I kind of have a try to look at what the market is currently doing. So as we can see, it is clear that the market is trying to print higher supports on, and this is the 4 hour time frame, and we are creating higher resistances. So basically we've kind of, we're on the bullish most recent trend on the 4 hour time frame, and we're trading above these resistances. So it makes much more sense to look for buys for today. So I'm going to get rid of all this and mark out my chart now. So the idea is that we are pushing up most recent, and we can see this support right here. Okay, and we see this resistance level right here. So above this resistance level, we could say there's a resistance here, but we see that this is rejecting this resistance. So I'm going to pick this, and finally I'm going to pick this resistance as targets as well. But that we are pushing to the upside as doesn't mean we can't look for sells at the same time. So if we're going to sell, since we are pushing to the upside, we'll need to see a break of this 4 hour support, and we'll be careful of these previous resistances as they tend to become reaction points, like you can already imagine at this point already. So we have also this other resistance right here, and ultimately this support level. This support level will be the final target because of this clean candle, but we're only careful of these previous resistances. So to outline that better, I'm going to, okay, let me do something here, customize. Let me add the rectangle. Yes, so I'm going to draw a rectangular box around here. Just to note that this is the final target if we get sales, but for buys, once price can hold this support level, we should be looking to target this resistance level for this trading session. So I'm going to clone all of this. Then we'll work our way down to the hourly time frame. Now, if you look at the hourly time frame, the areas we have marked kind of overlapped with. So this is kind of a mess. So we're trying to adjust these levels right here. Now, this is the 4 hour support, and everything below here is basically wicks, right? So even though this is the support, we won't be taking sales until probably we begin to close below this level here. This, you can see this support is being respected by all these previous candles. So if we're going to take sales, but we would be waiting for a break below here. Remember that the 4-hour time frame is still bullish at the moment, so we should be theoretically looking for buys. Now, on the 4-hour, we are creating higher highs and higher lows. So if we can break resistances on lower time frame, then we can trade the breakout. So we're going to measure this range, which is about 28 pips. So if we can close above this lower time frame resistance, then we can easily take the breakout to the upside, or if we hold support above here, then we'll be taking the breakout to the upside, or we take the retest. Sorry about that. So yeah, so this range is a no trade range, though it's 20 pips, but it will be tricky trading in this range. Now for the sells, since we are actually pushing to the upside on 4-hour time frame, I would love to see a resistance formed below this support, not a break to the downside. So we'll wait for targets to be formed, look for resistances, and target the most recent lows. So if you now go to the 30 minutes, now in the 30 minutes we have another story, because basically we see this candle closures above already on the 30, and this is looking like a fake out though. But if the next candle can close bullish, then we can take the buys. Then we go to the 15 minutes time frame, and we'll basically see what I'm saying. So now we've established the fact that on 4-hour we are pushing up. On the hourly we have this resistance level. We have clean candles to the left. Now we've broken up pre-London because this is 1 hour before London open. And if we can form support basically above this level, will be fine. But for sales, we'll need to see resistance below this level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click next. Now this closed bullish, but it was not a strongly bullish candle. So it's showing that this resistance is still holding, even though we don't want to trade in this 20 pips range. So we're going to look at the next candle. Now this closed bearish. So the buy idea is not valid at this point because candles are closing back below this range. Even though we could anticipate to fill the range to the downside, but that is not the plan. The plan is to stick to the overall structure we have on the 4-hour time frame, which is bullish. And at the moment, we don't have our setup yet. So we're going to click next, still watch on the 15. Now it's looking messy on the 15, so we'll go with 30 minutes for better confirmation. And what's the time? This is 10:05. Yeah. Now we've got this 30 minutes candle is still open because this is still 10:20. This was a good sell to be fair, but I was not keen on the sells. I would rather wait for a resistance below this level or this level to take sells. Now this candle has closed bearish below this, so I walk down to the 15 minutes to see if resistance can be formed below this level. And it seems it will be a no trade day because okay, let's watch and see. Now this is closing in 5 minutes. Now this is a resistance formed, but the range we have to the downside is not much. It's just 10 pips for a 20 pip risk, which is not a good risk to reward to be fair. So in hindsight, the best sells were from here. We could have taken this fake out, and once we start breaking below this support, we could have taken the sells, but I was not keen on the sells at that point. So I think I'll just pass on this trade and move to the next day because at this point this session, oh, we're still early in this session, but I'm not keen on these sales as well because the next level is just right here. So we need to mark up more levels to the downside at this point. And yeah, we're gonna mark this level right here, then this level as support, this one and this one. So if you look on 15, I'll just play this and see how it plays. See, yeah, because this level was the previous support level on 4-hour time frame, and I think we missed the sales, so it's better to move to the next day. Wow, what a sell-off on GU. So no FOMO. It's better if now this is 1 hour before London Open and all our analysis has been thrown out of the window. So if you go to the 4-hour time frame, GU basically sold off yesterday. So we're gonna adjust these levels now. So this is resistance right here. This one, clearly the market has switched from buys to sells because we can see that, of course, this, we can call this trend has been broken. This uptrend has been broken to the downside here. So basically you're looking for lower resistances to sell at this point for this session. Okay. Sorry. So we have this resistance right here. We have this level right here, which is the previous support level. And yeah, this was March 2018. Okay. This was January 2018. And we have this level right here, which is the next support level. And ultimately, we can also target this weak fill if we get it. So basically, we are pushing to the downside now on the 4-hour time frame. We need to see a kind of resistance. If we now break below this support, then we can take this weak fill. Break, I mean, by break, I mean the candle closures below here, probably on the 30 minutes. Then we can take this weak fill to the downside. Or if we see a pullback, not more than this level. Okay, so if you see a pullback, hold resistance below here, then it will not be a fake out. It could be a retest of this level to push down to the downside. But if we start closing back above this resistance, then we should be looking for buys. So basically the game plan for today is we're looking for a break below, lower resistance to sell, pullback to sell, or if we get a break and a breakout to the downside. But for buys, we need a break above here, basically to change structure on the 4-hour time frame to look for buys. So if we now go, if we clone this and go to the hourly just to adjust the chart a bit, we can push this to the upside here. Did I clone everything? I think I did. Okay. But yeah, okay. So this resistance on the 4-hour is actually here on the hourly. So we want to buy only above here with support. And yes, now if we can break below this support, then we can take the sales to the ups to the downside. Or if you see resistance below here, then we can take it to the downside as well. So on 30 now. So we'll see what happens as we play this. Okay. So we'll go on 15 and see what price action we have now. Yeah, I'm going to take this sell, though it's risky because we are failing to close above this previous support, and we now have two candles showing that this resistance is confirmed. So if we risk this 1% still above here, and our first target will be back at this level, then optimal target will be here. So I'm gonna play this, see how it plays. So now as a man from the management side, now we were up 5 pips. So if this candle begins to break its own high, then I'll be closing 50%. Now I'm aware of this 15-minute support which could hold, but on the 30 minutes, which is a higher time frame, we are holding resistance below this level. And don't forget that we have only sell idea until we break above here. Okay, so now we are 5 pips up. We're 5 pips up, and if we break this high, I'll be closing 50% and letting the rest run. That was close to really breaking the highs. I was close to close at 50% at that point, but would say. So now this is the second half of the 30 minutes candle. Now the 30 minutes candle has closed bearish. So we really want this high to be respected. If this high gets broken, then I'll be closing the old trade at that point because it doesn't make sense to now break this high and still build in the trade. Now the risk on this trade was actually 12 pips. So once we are able to reach 12 pips, which is possible before this next reaction point, then we would have been up by 1 to 1 of the trade. And that's 17 pips. Now, don't forget the idea stemmed from the 4-hour time frame. We are actually pushing to the downside after breaking this bullish structure basically, and we were sell biased until we break above this 4-hour resistance. So we're not looking for buys basically. So even though we have this strong bullish close on the 4-hour, it was still respecting this previous 4-hour support. So from support and resistance strategy, since we are not breaking back above this support, nor are we breaking above this resistance, then we were still on the sell side. Okay, so for the entry, we looked at the 30 minutes time frame and see clearly that the candles were closing bearish at this previous 4-hour support level. Enter the sell with a stop loss above the resistance. And to manage the trade, I almost actually closed half of the trade when this was trying to break the high, but I needed to see probably a clear break of the high. But that was respected, and now we are 17 pips up in profit. So I'm going to close 80% of this trade at this point. I'm going to close 80% and put the rest at break even, and to see if we can continue till at least this point where I will close everything. And if we get this super TP, that'll be crazy. So at this point, I'm just gonna skip next by 5 minutes since we've already seen how the trade formed and what have I done? Did I close this trade or not? I think I moved back. So I'm gonna modify and put this at break even. And I'm gonna click next by 5 minutes. Yeah, got stopped out. And what we could learn was actually the TP was exaggerated, to be fair. This area is really key because it's the structure point on the lower time frame. Even though overall we are looking to continue the downward push, the push to the downside, but we have this structure point that we need to break below here and ultimately below here before filling this clean candle. So it was wise to close profit at this previous structure area. And I think it was better to have closed everything at this point and just move to the next trade. So we are basically 1.07% up for today. Then we move to the next day, which will be, oh, look at that. So this is 1 hour before London open. We'll go back to the 4-hour time frame and see. Now, this is really important to note. This is really key for this strategy. You would realize that um, we had this support, and this kind of smashed through, right? But on the way down, we created this resistance. So for us to continue down, basically, we needed to respect this resistance and not close above. Now, this has closed above, meaning that we are breaking back to the upside. Okay. However, we have also created a resistance right here at the previous support area. So to continue to the upside, we need a candle closure above here for the first option, probably on 30 minutes. Then we can take the break to the upside to fill this range. Or if we miss the breakout, we could look for a pullback, not breaking back below this resistance, then for continuation, if you get what I mean. So the game plan for today is that's the buy side, but for the sell side, since we have this support right here, if we see a candle closing below this support, then we need it to close, look for resistance, then to sell. Why do we need to look for resistance to sell? Because we have this structure point to the downside, because we could easily just pull back below here, then continue to the upside, if you get what I mean. So we have two areas for buys. If we could respect this area and hold support, then we'll continue. If we break above and hold support, we'll continue. Let me make this clearer. So for the buys, we can pull back and continue. We can break above and continue. But for the sells, we need to push down, hold resistance, then continue to the downside. Okay. So I will also need to adjust this level to make them cleaner. We don't need this one, I think. Let's select this or this. Delete selected. So why I deleted this was it didn't show any sign of rejection on the way down. Of course, it's still there, but I would probably look at this most recent push to the downside as a clean candle. So if we begin to break above this, we could try to fill this clean candle to this previous support level. Okay, so let me delete this and also delete this. So we have this area here as target, and I can move this to the upside here. So if you go on the hourly now, it fits perfectly on the hourly time frame. Closures above here, then we feel the range. Resistance below here, or basically below here for sales. So if you go on 30, cool. We have this range. If we can break above, we continue with the buys. If we close below here, which is also the 4-hour level, then hold resistance below here, but ultimately below here would be better for sales. Okay, so let's see how this plays if we skip by 5 minutes. Now, this is a 15 minutes closure above, which would be a risky call to be fair, because we have 36 pip for 11 pip stop loss, which is a 1 to 3. I would have preferred a 30 minutes close, but this is risky, but I'm going to try it out with the stop loss below this breakout, and I take profit right here. Now, if any candle closes back below this support, then I'm going to close the trade, because at that point the 30 minutes will be closing below here. Mind you, this is still not London open, so it's really risky, but we have some profits from yesterday, so we could try it out. And also it also fits the criteria for the buys, because we are closing above resistance and we have broken structure on the 4-hour time frame. So let's see how this plays. Now we're lucky to have the lower wick formed, and now we are breaking above this high. So once we start to break below this lower wick, I'll be closing the trade to manage the trade. So we shall see. Now this is the 30 minutes close, which is now above this resistance, which gives much more confidence to stay in this trade. But to manage the trade, if we start breaking below this previous 15 minutes low, I will not be closing partials, I'll be closing all, because it's still pre-London. So we could get a better entry around London or just after London open. So it's not a good habit to waste the bullets before the open hours, because we get better options around the open hours. But if this runs through already from now, then it will be a nice. So now we are breaking below. Oh, I was late. So I'm going to close the trade. Yeah, I'm going to close the trade for a 6 pip loss, because at that point the hourly candle is still open as well, so we could easily close back below this range. So we'll see what happens on the 15. Yeah, it was better to close. Cool. Now we have another chance at this buys. So now the 15 minutes has closed back above. And what does the 30 minutes look like? Great. It looks like a rejection candle from the downside. The hourly candle has closed above. So now I'm gonna take this buys again with stop loss below this support and take profit at this previous clean candle area. Yeah, I think it's better now. This is kind of fast, so I'm gonna slow it down a bit. So to manage this trade now, it is if we begin to close below this support, otherwise I would take this full stop. But once we can trade stay above this, this previous resistance area, then we are cool. But any candle that starts to close below here, probably on the 5 or on the 15, then I would close the trade. So the risk on this trade was actually 17 pips. Now, what you can notice from this London open candle is many times it seems as though the candle was going to flip to the downside, which I've noticed quite recently with pound USD. Since we are bullish bias and the structure is right, everything is right, we should not be scared of closing the position when it tries to flip, because it could just come back to open to just pick more orders to continue in the right direction. So we'll see how this ends, and yeah, hopefully we can hit this is a 14, this is 20 pips, 18, kind of 1 to 1.5 basically. But now that we are up on 10 pips, I'm not going to take a loss on this. If it comes back to entry, then I'm closing the trade. So I'm going to put stops at break even. I'm going to put stops at break even. Yeah. I think we can actually fill this candle to the left on 4 hour that we marked out previously, and we're actually struggling at this point now. But I strongly believe we can fill this candle to the upside. And that was close to stopping us out, and probably, yeah, we'll see if we get lucky on this trade, because it almost stopped me out at break even, almost. But it's better than taking a loss. It's better than taking a loss after being up 14 pips. I was actually waiting for this to hit, and I think we should get it with this new 30 minutes open, which filled the wick straight up, which means that there is still the bullish momentum to the upside. So we'll see. And there you go. There you have it. So this has closed strongly bullish, and I think we should just continue to the upside. I really think I should close the position right now. Yeah, I think I'll close 80% at this point, and then play the rest out by 5 minutes. Are we gonna hit it? Now I hate this situation where it almost hit the TP and it didn't hit, so I'm gonna close probably another 50 just to secure the bag and see how the next one plays out. Oh, come on, come on. No way. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was good to see how the trade eventually played. We almost got stopped out at break even, almost. And I think in hindsight, rather than putting it at break even, we could actually hold the stop loss below this candle, because if we still didn't break this low, then we should still be Gucci to the upside. So overall, it was a good trade. It was a well thought out analysis. We've broken this resistance. We are holding support above resistance. We are breaking resistance to the upside. We have clean candles to the left. We could now see in hindsight that this was not a weak fill, it was actually a liquidity grab. And indeed, for this to be a weak fill, we needed to close below this support before we can fill this week. So this is Friday, and this is already 1 week of trading in January. So this will be the first part of first series, and see you in the next simulation. Thank you.